All right. Good morning. How you doing this morning, Jake?
Good, bud. Hey, I didn't know we were live for that. Those like 2 minutes spinning up. So
yeah,
I feel like, like a presidential election, like you got me, man. You got me. You stood me up. You set me up. So, hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome to episode 54 of the Coffee Squad podcast. So today we are wrapping up our Home Security 101 series. We're titling this one, So Now You Are a Security Expert. So we're going to kind of do a little recap, go over some of the questions other people have had for us and try to answer those. So here we go. We're wrapping up the series. It kind of feels like I didn't think like when we kind of planned this out with Josh and everyone that it just seems like it's kind of just it's been there. It's been some good topics, some good discussions. But yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready to move on. I'm ready to move on to see what you got next planned up for us after this. So yeah.
Yeah, we got some fun stuff coming up over the next few weeks, months. Definitely get going on that. So what are you drinking this morning?
Man, I'm drinking this Alani Nu drink. I got off keto for like a week and a half. Not that everyone cares or wants to care about it, but I felt like crap for the last like 10 days. So getting back on it. This drink is awesome. It is super tasty. So this one's a Hawaiian Shaved Ice. So it has hints of Hawaii in there, hints of shaved ice.
Hints of Hawaii?
Yeah, bud.
Okay.
Yeah, it says it on the can.
What does Hawaii taste like?
I'm pulling a Will. Like, hey.
What does Hawaii taste like?
Beautiful tropicalness, Will.
Okay.
Pure happiness.
Coconut salt. Yeah, okay.
Have you been to Hawaii, Will?
No, I have not.
See, then you wouldn't know what it tastes like.
I will.
You gotta get some.
I've never tasted Hawaii.
Alani Nu, and then you'll be like, man, you'll relax, you'll be happy. I've been to Hawaii. We went for our honeymoon, and I can tell you, I've been to much better places. Not that I don't like Hawaii. I just think it's overrated, overpriced.
Yeah, I've heard it's very high. But so do you think you have the keto flu? I know you get it.
No. It just I got off it, man.
Okay.
I kind of like slowly, like I finally understand like my buddies who like suffer with alcoholism or like get hooked on pain meds. Luckily, I've never had those issues. Been on tons and tons of pain meds, but never like that addiction. And I tell you, man, like I am addicted to sugar. Like,
oh yeah.
Once it starts, man,
they say that's like more addictive than some of the drugs out there.
They say it's like 10 times more powerful than cocaine. But man, gosh, man, like I could eat a whole box of cookies in like one setting, and like, meh, I feel like garbage.
Yeah,
but it's so good when it hits the lips. You know what I'm saying?
It's so good going down.
The Klondike bars, all that stuff, man. So I'm like the perfect like fat kid. I can just eat and eat and eat.
Oh
so
yeah.
Enough about me and the keto. So yeah, that's what I'm drinking. I got this Alani Nu Hawaiian Shaved Ice. It's pretty tasty. Then I have like my little like ketones drink next to me. So yeah, I just try to be a smart ass.
Not you.
Yeah. So trying to act like Will and describe my Hawaiian flavored drink. So what are you drinking? Come on, wow everyone.
So this morning I'm drinking I'm drinking my liquid IV strawberry this morning. I feel like I'm coming down with a cold or something, so I'm trying to.
Man, you've been doing that for like the last 2 weeks.
I don't know what's up, man. Maybe it's just allergies, but I do have a awesome cup of coffee from One Nation Coffee called Tastes Like Freedom. And you want to talk about it touching your lips and just, I feel like Captain America drinking this.
Yeah. So what does freedom taste like?
It's delicious.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a nice medium roast Arabic beans. Yeah, it's good stuff. We have Phil coming on in a few weeks. He'll be able to describe all this stuff for you. You're going to be, wow, I didn't know so much about coffee. So, yeah.
Phil or Will, you and Phil can have that little love fest.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You might have to go get like a Coca-Cola coffee or something to drink while we were talking about it, just so you
can. So I think coffee smells delicious, right? I love the smell of coffee. I mean, if they can make like a scented oil candle or something, that smells like I love it.
I'm sure they do.
I just think it tastes like garbage. Like I love, like walking in a coffee store and smelling it. So I don't know. I've never, it's just not my thing.
You just got to start slow, drink some of that foo-foo blended coffee that's essentially a milkshake with a little bit of coffee flavor in it.
Yeah, I'm good.
Mocha ice cream. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on. All right. So I going over the all the stuff that we've been through, I was back home a few weeks ago in Montana, and my parents are like, my dad especially, he's like, yeah, I listened to your stuff, and we were listening to the cybersecurity with Cliff, and we don't know anything about the cybersecurity. What am I doing? So he had me redo his whole cyber network, router settings, the passwords, the computer settings. I had set up a new computer for him. So yeah, thanks to Cliff, he definitely I had to go back and listen to some of the stuff he suggested to make sure it was taken care of. We see you, Tim. Thanks for joining us today, Tim. I see you out there.
Yeah. That just totally threw me off, because it's like, when someone knows all your dirty little secrets. Tim just got back from Vegas. Tim knows all my dirty little secrets. So, but let's keep him there, Tim. But
he was agreeing with you that sugar is worse than cocaine. So
yeah. So going back to Cliff and your parents and the routers and all that, what I learned in Cliff's thing was the router security settings, and you can't really do anything about it. I remember I have a mesh router system, because it kind of goes out to my outdoor patio and throughout my house. But I definitely looked, and it was like WPA2,
Yep.
And I know Cliff said that there's a 3 that's coming out, or it's been out, but not all the brands have them. And then I started looking, and I know you wrote an article, Will. I don't know if you've posted it yet on the Freedom Consulting website, but on cybersecurity type stuff. And it's scary when you start kind of digging in and talking and looking into router security, and just China, how clever they are of putting stuff in and being able to do what they do,
and how easy it is for it.
Oh, you don't realize it.
Yeah.
You look at our electrical grid and like how much China provides. I remember when I did that, we did like a cybersecurity course for professionals through Harvard, and every week we're looking at different case studies in like China and our power grid. Some of the big transformers and stuff and that they make for it. I know in like New Orleans they're holding off on some of the stuff, but it's scary when you think about how much of our life is controlled by computers.
Oh, absolutely.
So
especially in first world countries, right? Like America, it's just amazing how reliant we are on technology. And even when I was getting out of the Army, I started seeing, everybody learned how to do orientation and reading a map and shooting azimuths and stuff with an actual compass. And now everybody uses they were trying to transition into pluggers and GPS system when I was getting out. And I remember one movement we were on, my lieutenant, hold on a second.
I think Will's dog is trying to talk. So
yeah,
Will's showing us his home security system.
So anyways, my lieutenant, or that wasn't my lieutenant, it was my platoon sergeant. He was relying on the plugger, and it was obviously that was early stages, so they weren't very accurate. And he was off by a few hundred meters. I was like, no, we're supposed to be right here. He's like, no, we're supposed to be over there. And so yeah. I think we rely a little bit too much on it in some aspects, and it's only getting worse the more we integrate it into our lives. But it's just
technology is a great thing.
Yeah, I'll just take off my tinfoil hat. So,
well, no, so I agree with you. I think technology is a great thing. One of my jobs when I got out of the military as a contractor, and I was evaluating infantry units, and I'm not going to go into a ton of detail, but like you said, they rely heavily on technology, and they always want to say, well, you special operators, you guys have the latest and greatest technology. And I'm not going to lie and say that we don't. However, we know the basics. We know, you talk about reading a map and using a compass. That's how I used to do all my stuff. I didn't use a Garmin GPS. We had them. I didn't like using them. I didn't trust them nearly as much as I trusted a map. So I think technology is great. I know over in some of the hot spots. You also have to be careful with technology because of hostile threats out there. But so Cliff was a great one. I know throughout this 101 series podcast, Security Kind of for Dummies, or Security 101 series that we launched, that it opened up not only my eyes, of going back to the basic, but some of our listeners as well, of just when we talked about crime prevention through environmental design, it's always just a good refresher to go over that stuff, and kind of for you and I will to relearn. I wouldn't say relearn, but just refresh our skills on it. So that was a great thing. And
Adam definitely had a lot of information to share going over just the home physical security and the SEPTED type principles and the 4Ds of security: detect, deter, delay, and defend. And definitely awesome episode as well.
Yeah, I mean, we started off with definitions, right?
Yep.
So I think whenever you start anything, everyone needs to have a baseline. And I think with all security, right, there isn't one right way to do it. Just have a method to your madness. So what I hope for our listeners and viewers out there is that they were able to listen to this course. And if not, hey, go back to our website. You can find them on YouTube as well. And go back and through them. I have a good buddy, Bobby. He had his home broken into. He's had not his home, but his businesses were broken into, and in his neighbor, he lives in a gated community. And he was talking about cameras and security cams and that kind of stuff. And, went to Isaiah's podcast and said, hey, these are the things you need to look for. And so I hope that this 101 series, it's going to be online for, like we know, anything that's online is going to be online forever. Yeah, you just got to know how to find it. But as a listener or a viewer, if you have questions, go back through this to the website or YouTube and kind of scroll through, and you should be able to hopefully find answers to what I consider your base level.
Yep.
And that was our hope for all this.
Yep. So one of my neighbors actually listened to the SEPTED one with Adam, and talking about the lighting, and saw the little video that we posted on our Facebook page about the lighting, and he had me come over and kind of take a look at his house and give me some suggestions. And that was just, he's like, I never really thought about how important lighting is. And so you don't know if you don't know. So I think this has been a really good series just to kind of lay the basics down and kind of give everybody an awareness level type security of what we kind of do, right?
Absolutely. And, I got to give credit where credit's due, and that's to Josh. Had Josh not mentioned this to us last year, I think it was like October, November timeframe. This series, we probably would have just gone on and rambling like we normally do about stuff. And we've had some good input. Joe LaSorsa of LaSorsa and Associates has given us some great advice. I think after this 101 series, our podcast, we're going to try to keep them a little bit shorter in that 30-minute range. About an hour, 45 minutes. It's a little long for some people, but we'll try to shorten it down. And so, again, thank our supporters and our viewers and our listeners out there who have definitely kind of helped us. I know we hit our year mark last week or 2 weeks ago. Yeah, Will, you're never going to let me forget about our anniversary. I like to forget about it all the time. But this podcast wouldn't happen without our viewers and listeners' input. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. Yep. So after the SEPTED and Madrona, with Isaiah, and that really kind of it kind of reinforced some of the ideas I had about my personal home security system, and gave me some things to think about with the new Internet of Things and stuff like that. So that was a good one. Then we kind of went over to Clift and more of the home network security, right? Your settings. And I know I revisited, like you, looking at my router to see if I could do the WPA3, which I couldn't. So I had to order a new router. And like when I set my parents up, they only have a 2, but like I told them, for what they do, it's probably okay. And so there's just a lot of stuff that, that's kind of the good thing about security, is that it's always changing and evolving. Much like technology. And since it's becoming more and more integrated, we have to change and evolve with the technology.
Yeah. And we talked about Isaiah just briefly, but Madrona Digital. And I think for our listeners and out there, kind of just Google some of these people we've had on the podcast and realize who they work with and who they work for. Some pretty impressive backgrounds and resumes. So I got a lot. I mean, each episode, as long as it wasn't just you and I talking, whenever we had a guest on, I thought they were absolutely awesome.
Oh yeah.
You're just boring to talk to sometimes.
Yep. I know.
I'm sorry. I feel that way.
I'm the curmudgeon. I know. Debbie Downer, curmudgeon. I've been called everything.
But it was great. It was great having everyone on. And
then we had Scott come on and talk about social media, and I think that was a really good episode as well. I had to kind of revisit my oldest's settings on her phone to look and see what was there and what wasn't, and kind of change some things around to make sure that it was. And I know I changed my Facebook settings as well. So
yeah, I definitely went through like LinkedIn and other social media settings. I had to reset them, but I think you mentioned it in the podcast. It was monthly, probably just check that stuff, because they're going to, whenever they do a software update or anything on it, you are going to, your settings usually are going to revert back to kind of what they want and how they want. So even if you have an Apple phone or any of your computer settings updates, just always go through your security and just make sure that you want your information that's getting out there. And some of it, you just, it's risk versus reward, like we say quite a bit. And, when you use technology, you're giving up something for something. So, social media, I think that was a great one by Scott. Luckily, I don't have kids. I mean, I do have kids, but they're not that old. My oldest is 8. So,
it's coming.
Yeah. He said something about a cell phone the other day and I just laughed. And I was like, great. Yeah. So not till you're in high school and you're going to pay for your phone and pay for everything. So until you can do that, and he gets, he has a big piggy bank and he has a bank account. He's like, well, I could do it now. I was like, yeah, not happening, bud. So,
no, not yet.
Yeah, I'm a stickler for that kind of stuff. We know it's coming. We just don't know when's the right time. So I know buddies in his class have phones and iPads and video game systems. I know Ray's asked me about it. Video game systems, and I think they're good. I don't know. I want my kids outside playing in the dirt, eating dirt, climbing trees, that kind of stuff. So, but So social media, I think great information, great input. Again, if you didn't hear these, you didn't catch up with them. They are on our website and they're also on YouTube. So
yep. Just our YouTube channel is the Coffee Squad Podcast. So it's like the second or third one that pops up when you search it, so it's not hard to find. So yeah. So after we talked about all the good technology, social media stuff, it became you and me again, and we started talking about making yourself an easy target. And I think that was a good episode to kind of give the awareness level, of the basic. Hey, pay attention. And that's the simplest thing you can say about that one is just pay attention and have like the surroundings, know what's going on around you.
Yeah. We call it situational awareness in the military always, and it's funny because if you sit in an airport, I think an airport or,
I was in one for 12 hours the other day. Oh my God.
Just watch people, watch just how people, I mean, look, we all get in our little bubble, but it's good. Just people watch sometimes. Go to a mall, watch people, just anywhere where you can watch people, where there's a lot, you can watch like, okay, that white guy's probably a cop, some type of first responder, military, and you watch the way people walk and their actions. Then you watch like moms, right, with their kids and on a cell phone, and you're like, oh my gosh, or not just moms, but parents too. Everyone's like on their cell phone and walking like bumping, like, oh my gosh, so situational awareness is always a good thing. Sometimes it's good to watch others to be like, oh, I hope I'm not doing that.
Oh yeah. So yesterday I was driving home and some kid in the neighborhood was on his 4-wheel and he's sitting there texting in front of me. I'm like, are you kidding me, dude? Yeah. So I was like, it's like, hey man, get off your phone when you're driving. Oh, sorry. So yeah.
Anger Will coming out on the road. We need to do one on road rage, Will.
I'm sorry, Kettle. What did you say?
I don't know. I'm just talking.
Yeah.
Just talking. So
get out waving your leg at people, whatever.
Yeah. So hey, don't be an easy target, So I think, that we're talking about, whether you're at home, traveling, wherever you are, but at your home too. Don't make your home an easy target. Part of the crime prevention through environmental design, one of the little mini web series that we put out on the Freedom website, talks about that and talks about just yard maintenance and making your home look presentable. I'm not saying you have to keep up with the Joneses, but picking up your around your house, picking up the trash, mowing your lawn, fixing lights, fixing that kind of stuff makes it
get that sense of ownership going, and that sense, that pride of ownership. And and that's kind of a big thing about Septed. I'm obviously going through that course right now, and that pride of ownership, sense of ownership is really big, because if something's well maintained, something's usually well secured, and it's less chance of becoming an easy target, which most crime is crimes of opportunity, right? So if you have two houses, one's well maintained, looking good, the other one's kind of run down and it looks like it's dilapidated, which house do you think they're probably going to break into if they want a quick, easy score, right?
Or look, I didn't always grow up in a fancy little neighborhood or anything like that. And even when I moved out, I think the second place I rented in Sacramento was in a place called Del Paso Heights. It's not kind of the ghetto, and I that's where I kind of learned about self-awareness and not making yourself an easy target. And so it doesn't cost money to pick up after yourself. It doesn't cost you anything just to be like, hey, you know what? Let me pick up this trash. Let me do this. Let me do that. It takes time. It takes energy and effort, but it's that same time, energy, and effort that you should also invest back into yourself. And so, just got head on a swivel, know your surroundings, just take care of yourself. And what I don't want people to think is like, okay, we've talked about all these risks and how to mitigate some of these risks that are out there. Doesn't mean that crime's not going to happen. There isn't a placebo. There isn't, or I shouldn't say, there isn't a cure out there for preventing some bad action against you. What you can do is you can help prevent, have a plan, and do everything you can to minimize those threats against you. Yeah. So
no matter how prepared you are, there's always a chance for it to happen. I mean, it's impossible to mitigate every single thing.
100%.
So after the easy target, we kind of moved to Jake and I's favorite, I think, the home defense tools, right? The racking and clacking and the pews, all that good stuff.
I mean, who doesn't like guns? Besides my mom.
There's a few out there. So
besides my mom, I couldn't play with a gun ever, have a cap gun, water gun, or anything. But I know there's some people out there that absolutely despise them and hate them. And hey, that's okay. But I love them. I love teaching people how to shoot, connecting people. And I think, guns and blowing stuff up, that's just, I don't know. It's just fun stuff.
Yeah.
It's just good times.
One thing we forgot to talk about in that episode was blowtorches.
Flamethrower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I meant.
So now that you brought up blowtorches, Will, what would you do with a blowtorch? Now I'm just curious.
I mean, you saw the World War II stuff, right? Or World War I, whatever it was.
World War II.
I mean, they took out whole bunkers with them bad boys. And I showed you my new toy for my propane tank, right? That thing I did with the wood. So yeah, I got a nice big blowtorch / flamethrower to do some of the woodworking stuff I do. And yeah, that thing's pretty kick ass. So somebody comes at me with that when I have that thing in my hand, it's not gonna be a good day for them.
Wow. We didn't talk about nunchucks either, Will. Did you want to talk about that
extra
too?
Crispy? I don't know anything about nunchucks. I used them once and I racked myself in a place I shouldn't have racked myself. So yeah.
What is that? Hollywood Ninja or something like that with Chris Farley back in the day?
Beverly Hills Ninja.
Yeah. That's what that just reminded me of. So yeah. So tools for home defense and self-defense. I think that's always a good time. We didn't just talk about guns. We talked about other stuff you should do. And again, I think Will kind of hit home on that one a lot, was just have a plan. Have a plan for your house. If someone breaks in your home, have a plan what you should do. Of course, always call 911 first. Get the authorities there as fast as they can. but try to have a place where you can hide yourself if you have loved ones there safely. And then how do you protect yourself? How do you keep that barrier? How do you defend against that? So, and have enough time to give yourself a chance before the authorities get there. And that's not just an intruder. We can even push this to a fire. Have a fire plan. Where does everyone meet? If there's a fire in your house, where does everyone meet, and how do you get out? So, and have that plan. So,
well, I mean, that all goes back to security. I know we talked more about the bad actor or home invasion type stuff, but fire, CO2, all that, or carbon monoxide, right? Or dioxide, carbon, whatever. I can't think right now. Haven't had enough coffee this morning.
Better sip up, buddy.
I do. But anyways, all that stuff, it's, I remember, I don't think they do it as much as anymore, but remember when we were in school, we had to have like the fire people would come in and do like a little presentation, and we'd have to do a fire plan and take it home and talk to our parents about it. My oldest did it, but my youngest, I don't remember her doing it, but maybe she did. I don't know. It's been a few years.
Think about it too. The threats change in schools.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I know my kids they have a fire plan that they rehearse every once in a while. I think it's every quarter, or maybe every semester, but then they also do hurricane preparedness, and then they do an active shooter preparedness. That's not something I never did. We did earthquake training, earthquake preparedness and fire, where I grew up, but it was never active shooter or, something like that. We didn't.
I know one thing we didn't really talk about, Tim just brought up, is exit plans, leaving quick, escape, and evade. I know I said, I think we touched on, if you don't want to fight, have an escape plan, but that was all we did. So it is good to implement some sort of exit escape plan and have a plan on what you're going to do. Like I'm surrounded by woods, so I know where I'm going to go. If something happens, my girls know to meet across the street in the wooded lot next to the big tree if there's a fire or whatever. But if, as far as escape and evade, I know we didn't cover anything like that.
No, we didn't. And I think, Tim, that brings up a great point too. And again, Tim knows me. Like, I'm not that guy who's ever backed down from anything. As I get older, I have learned that, hey, you can't fight your way through everything. And trust me, I've had like my butt kicked plenty of times. But de-escalation, that's a term that we've heard in the law enforcement community quite a bit, but how to de-escalate a situation. I'm very, very good at escalating something and not bringing it down. So de-escalate. So have a plan of like, hey, try to talk your way out if you have to. I think now as I look back, it's better to de-escalate something than to escalate it. So, and then, hey, look, if you're a hothead or, your trigger's really quick, like I am, like I used to have a super fast, short trigger, know that about yourself and say, okay, hey, I'm not going to put myself in X, Y, and Z type of situation because that's just going to get me in trouble.
Yeah. So, but and you got to remember that your exit and your escape plan, all that stuff much like everything else is going to constantly change. 15 years ago, if I needed to run away, it would have been not much of a problem. Now, if I try to run away, it's going to be a little more difficult, right? And I'm sure you have this. I mean, you're obviously different than it was 10, 15 years ago. So,
brother, have you seen the legs that I got?
Are you going to take the time to put them on?
These are some pretty badass legs, man. No, I agree. Look, and I think that's why I have learned, like we call it verbal judo. That's a phrase out there, but you just learn how to talk, and half the time, I think more than half the time, actually, you can talk your way out of something, out of a situation. And half the time it's probably like you're having a bad day, or I'll just say, hey, I'm having a bad day. That person's having a bad day. And something that either pisses you off or pisses them off. And, next thing you know, tempers are going. But if you can almost, there's a guy, Dr. Kaiser, Ben Kaiser down in San Antonio, I used to have to talk to all the time. And you don't always have to put that shield up or that hey, I'm a tough guy. You just learn sometimes, like, hey, you know what, my bad. You can really just de-escalate something just by saying, hey, my bad. Might hurt the ego and pride a little bit, but then I used to be a handicap parking Nazi. It used to drive me nuts. And I remember, like, I saw this dude walking out of the grocery store one day, and it's like pouring rain. And I'm like, what an asshole. Parking in the handicap thing. Looks like he's totally fine. Little did I know, like, I said something right, and he, like, lost his cookies. And he's like, I have MS, blah, blah, blah. And had he not been holding on the cart, he didn't have the strength.
Yeah.
Great lesson learned. I instantly, like, it's just when, like, an event in life just slaps you in the face. It's like that lifelong learning moment. I'll never forget it. But I just apologize to the guy. And next thing you know, we're hugging it out and like, hey, it's a great thing. But here I was, like, being the dick. Like, hey, man, don't park in that spot. Like, there's older people here. There's other people here, who could use that. And you just don't always know. So,
well, what's that saying? You don't know what somebody's going through. So it's a lot easier to be nice than to be a dick, like you said.
Yeah, you get more bees with honey is what they say. So, something like that. More honeys with bee. I don't know.
More flies with sugar, I think. But
there you go. So I think overall it was a great, like, great little series to set the baseline on. And I, with this podcast, as we move forward, we're not always just going to talk about security. We're going to bring guests on. I think you have quite a few authors that are coming on and other people. So we want to kind of make it interesting. We are always going to, there's always going to be some bit of security tied in there sometimes not. We just might have a cool guest that I know some have reached out to you wanting to get on the podcast. And we're just going to talk and have a good time. So for our listeners and viewers out there, let us know what your thoughts are, what you would like to talk about. It doesn't just have to be about security. If you want to know about coffee, I know, Will, you said Phil's coming on from One Nation Coffee. Hey, if you want to just talk about coffee, go ahead, man. I'll just sit back and shut up, and probably half our listeners would like that anyway. So we'll let you guys talk about coffee, and I can make fun of you. So,
I mean, hell, if you want to come on the show, let us know. Hit us up, Always happy to have people on.
So,
all right. So, I think that's pretty much it. We'll keep it short and sweet today. Kind of start our new idea of keeping it short, sweet, and to the point.
Yeah.
So
are you dragging everyone down like Debbie Downer? I mean, what's been crazy with the 101 series too, minus the Capitol breach, there hasn't been a whole lot of, like, major crisis going around.
Not here in the US, no.
I mean, we had that nut job the other day in Atlanta. And, what a tragedy. But then again, like, think you go to get a massage, I guess that to me just points out, like, it could happen anywhere.
Yep.
And always be prepared. Internationally, I mean, Yemen, Saudi, the Houthis, China. I think everyone's just kind of waiting to see what's going on. But we'll keep it short and sweet from now on. Hopefully no more gray clouds. 2021 is a better year for everyone. So as we get back to, I think more people are starting to get out and about a little bit more. The vaccines are out. So I just listened to something about herd immunity today as well. So you can find out more information about this 101 home physical security, SEPTED, technical security, and some of the little web series that we've put together at www.fc-llc.org. And then keep an eye out. There's going to be a monthly little issues series that Will comes up with, and topics that we've discussed here on the podcast that, will have a little white paper, something short and sweet. We know writing is a strong suit, so we'll keep it short and sweet for
That's
everyone.
That's being pretty nice.
No, Will actually does pretty good, man.
I didn't like it in high school, and
so yeah. And then check out. We've mentioned the YouTube channel a few times, and just search for the Coffee Squad. And then comment, like, and share as much as you can. So
subscribe, go on Apple Podcasts. Make sure you rate us and give us a feedback, because that's how they rate stuff on there. But so next week we have a special guest, Chuck Harold, aka the Security Guy Radio. He's 30 plus years experience in the security industry. He has his own, security radio podcast. He does a lot of stuff for ASIS, which obviously is a big part of what we do.
Excuse me.
You all right?
Yep. Allergies.
Bless you.
Thank you. It's the nicest thing you said to me all day.
No,
So we're going to have Chuck on next week. It should be a great discussion. A bunch of Chuck's been doing this security thing for quite a while. Does a lot with ASIS. So tune in. So.
Yeah. And then, appreciate all the support and feedback, Tim. As always, it's good to hear from you.
Josh, thanks for the series, man. I appreciate it. I appreciate the insight and the input. So,
Adam, Cliff, Scott, and Isaiah. It was awesome for you guys to join us.
Did you say Josh?
Josh as well. Yep.
Yeah. So,
all you guys, we'd love to have you come back on later on through the year. So
for sure. All right, guys. Have a good one. Have a good week.
Thanks, everybody.